So far, we learned about what management groups are. It's also important to understand about subscriptions and how billing is linked to subscriptions. The first time when you try to interact with Azure, you create an Azure account. A subscription is a logical unit of Azure services that is linked to your Azure account. You can have multiple subscriptions inside your Azure account. Now, if I navigate to my account here, I'm logged in with a account that is linked to Azure, and then I type subscriptions under the search box and then navigate to subscriptions. You'll notice that I've got one subscription right here, which is pay as you go. By clicking on the add button, you can have multiple subscriptions under the same account. Organizations usually have subscriptions for production, another subscription for development, maybe another one for testing, and few more for development maybe. Some of the organizations also have based on business units, allowing business units to control their own subscriptions but under the same account. Billing for Azure services is done on per subscription basis. So if you click on a particular subscription, you will be able to see the total cost that has been incurred by that particular subscription. In this case, I've got my subscription ID, and then the cost for that particular subscription can be seen here. And as you scroll down to the bottom, you will be able to see some more forecasts, the spending rate, and also bifurcation of resources based on how much each service has incurred the cost. So if your account is the only account associated with the subscription, just like mine, I've got just one subscription here linked up to my account, so then you will be responsible for billing. If I have few more subscriptions, I can have the subscription owners assigned to that subscription, and then they will be responsible for the subscription billing. So, subscriptions will help you organize access to cloud service resources. They also help you control how resource usage is reported, billed, and paid for. Each subscription will have a different billing and payment setup. In this case, I have a different payment setup, maybe a credit card. If I have another subscription here, they may have their own credit card for billing purposes. So you can have different subscriptions and different plans by maybe department, project, region office, and so on. Every cloud service belongs to a subscription and a subscription ID, and you should be able to see that right here. So, like I said, there's a subscription ID here, and this is mapped to my credit card for billing purposes. So, if you would like to programmatically access the information inside the subscription, you would use the subscription ID to programmatically access that. Now, imagine a scenario where you would like to grant access to certain people in your organization so that they can then access the billing. Well, this can be done using the IAM section or Identity and Access Management. So, subscriptions have accounts. An Azure account is simply an account in Azure Active Directory or in a directory that is trusted by Azure AD, such as your work or school organization. If you do not belong to one of these organizations, you simply need to sign up for an Azure account by using a Microsoft account, which is then trusted by Azure AD. So every Azure subscription is associated with an Azure Active Directory account, and users and services that access the resources of the subscription first need to authenticate with Azure AD. In this case, I got authenticated to my subscription using my account, which is nothing but my email address. But then, not just this account, you can also have other accounts to be granted access to your subscription and the resources by using the IAM section. All you got to do is click on the add button and then add role assignment. Then you will select what permissions do you want to grant to that particular object. And you got a lot of these roles defined here. And let's say you want to grant a contributor role to a user account in Azure AD. You select contributor and then find that user account in this list here. Let's say you want to grant access to Alex and then click on save. So I've selected Alex and Alex appears here and I click on save. Now Alex has got role-based access control as a contributor to my subscription. So we have granted a user access to Azure resources by adding them to IAM section here. So this user will now have access to all the resources in our subscription because they now have the contributor role. There are a lot of other options that we have inside the Azure subscription. So you can go to cost analysis here to find out how much cost has been incurred by each resource, each service, each location, and also resource group name. And that's why the tagging also comes into picture. It is one of the recommendations to have tagging done properly so that you can have a CMDB for all your resources, and thereby you can filter them based on the tag option that it's there. And thereafter, you can use this filter to then identify the tags option available here and then use those tags to find out how much billing is incurred by a particular tag that's available in this resource group. So going back to subscriptions now, understand that a subscription is nothing but a logical entity that is used for billing purposes. You can have multiple subscriptions in your account, and all the subscriptions can then be associated to a particular billing group and a payment setup. Inside one account or inside one Azure account, you can have multiple subscriptions, maybe dev, prod, or also based on business units.